In the quaint town of Cedar Grove, nestled among the golden-hued autumn leaves, stood an old Victorian house known simply as the Thorne House. Its once vibrant paint had faded to a ghostly gray, and the porch sagged under the weight of time. Locals avoided it, exchanging wary glances whenever the wind rustled through its cracked shutters, whispering secrets only they seemed to hear. The tale of the Thorne House began in the late 1800s with the Thorne family. Oliver Thorne, a prosperous merchant, built the house for his beloved wife, Eleanor. Their happiness was short-lived, however. Within a year of moving in, Eleanor succumbed to a sudden illness, leaving Oliver heartbroken. Rumors swirled that he never truly left the house after her passing, roaming its halls, mourning a love that could never be reclaimed. Years rolled on, and the Thorne House passed through numerous hands. Each family who took up residence soon fled, claiming to hear Eleanor's mournful sobs echoing through the night. One family, the Millers, decided to brave the eerie reputation. Determined to uncover the truth, they moved in with their 2 children, Jamie and Clara. From the moment they arrived, an unsettling feeling settled over the house. The air grew thick with tension, and shadows seemed to dance at the edges of their vision. It began with the whispers, soft, barely audible murmurs that drifted through the halls like a gentle breeze. At first, the Millers dismissed them as creaking floorboards or the wind playing tricks. But soon they became impossible to ignore. One evening, as a storm brewed outside, Jamie and Clara, tucked snugly in their beds, heard a voice calling from the hallway. It was a soft, sorrowful sound, echoing with an almost familiar cadence. Drawn by an inexplicable urge, Clara crept out of her room, her heart pounding. The whispers grew louder, leading her to the parlor where an old, dust-covered mirror hung. In the dim light, Clara saw a figure, a woman draped in a flowing white gown, her features obscured by the veil of time. The woman's lips moved, but no words came. Instead, Clara felt a wave of sadness wash over her, the weight of unfulfilled longing wrapping around her like a shroud. Terrified yet curious, Clara reached out, her fingers brushing the cool surface of the mirror. In that moment, the whispers transformed into a symphony of sorrowful sighs, filling the air with a chilling melody. Startled, she stumbled back, her heart racing. Just then, Jamie burst into the room, eyes wide with fear. "Did you hear that?" he gasped. "It's coming from the attic." Driven by a mix of fear and intrigue, the siblings ventured up the creaking stairs to the attic, where the air was thick with dust and secrets. In the dim light, they found an old trunk. It was locked, but a nearby crowbar was enough to pry it open. Inside, they discovered a collection of Eleanor's personal items: letters, a locket, and a diary, the pages yellowed with age. As they flipped through the diary, they learned of Eleanor's unyielding love for Oliver and the depth of her despair after his death. Each entry bled into the next, filled with haunting laments and dreams of reunion. As they read aloud, the whispers crescendoed, becoming a cacophony of emotions that enveloped them. In that instant, the mirror in the parlor shimmered with a spectral light. Clara, still clutching the locket, felt a sudden rush of warmth and clarity. The whispers fell silent, replaced by a profound stillness. They glanced at each other, understanding dawning in their eyes. Eleanor was not haunting them. She was searching for solace, yearning to be remembered. The Millers spent the following days restoring the house, meticulously organizing Eleanor's belongings, and paying homage to the love story that had unfolded within those walls. As they honored her memory, the atmosphere shifted. The weight lifted, and a sense of peace settled over Cedar Grove. Months later, the whispers ceased entirely. Clara and Jamie often shared stories of the woman in white, now a cherished part of their family lore. They would often say that love transcends even the boundaries of life and death. For in Cedar Grove, the walls still whispered, but now they spoke of love, not sorrow. And the Thorne House, once a place of fear, became a sanctuary for memories, a testament to the enduring power of love. As the Millers settled into their new life in the Thorne House, an unexpected tranquility enveloped the home. Clara and Jamie reveled in their newfound space, exploring every nook and cranny. But they couldn't shake the feeling that the house still held secrets waiting to be unearthed. One crisp autumn afternoon, while rummaging through the attic for more items to restore, Clara stumbled upon a small, ornate box hidden behind a stack of old trunks. It was intricately carved with swirling designs, and despite its dusty exterior, it radiated a strange allure. She could feel her heart quicken as she carefully pried it open. Inside lay a collection of delicate jewelry, rings, bracelets, and a beautiful brooch shaped like a willow tree. But more striking than the jewelry was a faded photograph tucked beneath them. Clara gasped as she recognized Eleanor, standing proudly with a man whose features were strikingly similar to Oliver. Beside them was a little girl, no older than Clara herself, her eyes sparkling with life. "What is it?" Jamie asked, leaning over her shoulder. Clara held the photograph closer, her brow furrowing. "I think this is Eleanor's family. But who's the girl?" As they studied the image, they noticed something unsettling. The faces of Eleanor and Oliver were filled with joy, but the little girl wore a sorrowful expression, as if she were aware of a fate that eluded the adults around her. Determined to learn more, Clara and Jamie scoured the attic for clues. They came across more letters, but these were different, written in a hurried scrawl, filled with desperate pleas and dark omens. Eleanor's handwriting, but the tone was alarmingly frantic. "I can't let them take her away," one letter read. "They'll never understand our love, never allow us to keep her. I must protect her, no matter the cost." With each letter they read, a chilling realization settled over them. The little girl was Eleanor and Oliver's child, a daughter named Lila who had mysteriously disappeared. The last letter hinted at a hidden family secret, something that had shattered their lives, leaving Eleanor alone in the sprawling house, haunted by loss. That night, Clara found herself unable to sleep. The moon cast an ethereal glow through her window, illuminating the dust motes that danced in the air. She crept out of bed and made her way to the parlor, drawn once more to the mirror. It gleamed under the moonlight, and she felt an almost magnetic pull toward it. "Eleanor?" she whispered into the stillness, her voice barely breaking the silence. To her surprise, the surface of the mirror began to shimmer, swirling like a pool of water disturbed by a gentle breeze. Suddenly, the image of Eleanor appeared, clearer than ever before, her expression a mix of sorrow and relief. "Clara," the apparition spoke, her voice a soft melody that sent shivers down Clara's spine. "You have uncovered my truth. You must help me find Lila." Clara's heart raced. "But where is she? What happened to her?" The figure hesitated, a flicker of anguish crossing her translucent face. "She was taken from me, stolen by those who feared what we were. If you can find the truth, I can finally rest." Just then, Jamie entered the room, his eyes widening in shock as he saw the ghostly figure. "Clara, what's happening?" he exclaimed. "Eleanor wants us to help her find Lila," Clara explained, her voice trembling. The spirit turned to Jamie, her gaze pleading. "You must search for the hidden truth. It lies buried in the depths of this house. Only then can I be free." As Eleanor faded from view, a sense of urgency filled the air. Clara and Jamie exchanged determined looks. They understood their task was far from over. They needed to delve deeper into the history of the Thorne family and uncover the dark secrets that had been buried for so long. The next morning, they visited the local library, poring over old newspapers and town records. Piece by piece, they began to assemble the fragmented story of the Thorne family. They discovered accounts of whispers and warnings about dark rituals and the lengths to which some would go to protect their own. But one article stood out, a mention of a mysterious figure who had appeared in Cedar Grove around the time of Lila's disappearance. The name was barely legible, but the implications were clear. Someone had been watching, lurking in the shadows, a sinister presence tied to the Thorne family's tragic fate. Clara's hands trembled as she read the words aloud. "It says here that a strange woman was seen near the Thorne House just days before Lila vanished. They called her the Willow Witch." Jamie's eyes widened. The willow tree brooch. It must be connected somehow. What if she had something to do with Lila's disappearance? Determined to uncover the truth, they returned home, their minds racing with possibilities. They knew they were on the brink of a discovery that could change everything for Eleanor, and perhaps even for themselves. The walls of the Thorne house seemed to hum with anticipation, whispering secrets as the siblings prepared for the next chapter of their eerie journey. But as night fell, an unsettling stillness descended over Cedar Grove, and they couldn't shake the feeling that they were being watched. Shadows lengthened, stretching like fingers reaching out from the past, as the chilling reality set in. The more they uncovered, the closer they came to awakening forces that should remain undisturbed. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story. Clara and Jamie spent the following days piecing together the fragments of the Thorne family history, diving deeper into the mystery of Lila and the ominous figure known as the Willow Witch. Every late night in the library brought new revelations, but also a mounting sense of unease. The house, which had once felt like a refuge, now loomed over them, its walls heavy with secrets. One evening, Clara decided to investigate the attic further, convinced there must be more hidden among the dusty relics of the past. Armed with a flashlight, she climbed the creaking stairs, the beam cutting through the shadows. She felt a strange energy pulsating in the air, a reminder of the whispers that had once filled the house. As she rummaged through boxes, she stumbled upon an old trunk that had been pushed to the back, nearly forgotten. Its lock was rusted but easily pried open. Inside, Clara discovered a collection of worn journals, diaries, it seemed, filled with elegant script. Flipping through the first pages, she recognized the familiar handwriting of Eleanor. The entries chronicled Eleanor's life, her joys and heartaches, but one particular entry stopped Clara cold. It described a desperate night when Eleanor, fearing for Lila's safety, had sought help from the mysterious Willow Witch. The words spilled out in frantic strokes, detailing a pact made under the cover of darkness, a bargain that promised protection but at a terrible price. "I had no choice," Eleanor had written. "To keep my daughter safe, I agreed to the witch's demands. But I fear the price may be too high. The shadows grow closer." Clara's breath hitched. She called Jamie up to join her, urgency in her voice. "You need to see this." When Jamie arrived, Clara held the journal open, her finger tracing the words. "Eleanor made a deal with the Willow Witch to protect Lila. But it sounds like it came at a cost. What if the witch is still out there?" Jamie frowned, the pieces clicking into place. That's why Eleanor was never at peace. She was haunted not just by loss, but by the consequences of that pact. Determined to learn more, they decided to visit the town's historical society the next day, hoping to find records or stories about the Willow Witch. As they stepped into the building, the air felt thick, as if the very walls were listening. An elderly librarian named Mrs. Hargrove greeted them, her sharp eyes glinting with a hint of recognition. "You're the Millers who moved into the Thorne house, aren't you?" she asked, her voice low. "I've heard whispers about you." Clara and Jamie exchanged uneasy glances. "We're trying to learn more about the Willow Witch," Clara explained. "We think she might be connected to Lila's disappearance." Mrs. Hargrove's expression shifted, a mix of concern and something else. "Fear? That's a name best left forgotten. The Willow Witch was said to have powers beyond understanding. She was a healer once, but her heart turned dark after a tragedy of her own. People spoke of her in hushed tones, warning that to seek her aid was to invite ruin. What happened to her?" Jamie pressed. "Some say she vanished, while others believe she still roams these woods, searching for what she lost. And those who dared to cross her have met terrible fates." Mrs. Hargrove paused, her gaze drifting toward a window where the wind rustled the leaves outside. "You should tread carefully. The past has a way of clawing back into the present." Armed with this new information, Clara and Jamie knew they had to confront the mystery head-on. They decided to explore the woods surrounding Cedar Grove, rumored to be where the Willow Witch had once conducted her dark rituals. As they ventured into the dense thicket, an eerie fog rolled in, twisting the trees into ghostly figures. With each step, the atmosphere thickened. Clara felt a prickling sensation at the back of her neck, as if they were not alone. "Do you feel that?" she whispered, her voice barely audible over the rustling leaves. "Yeah," Jamie replied, his eyes scanning the trees. "It's like we're being watched." As they pressed deeper into the woods, they came upon a clearing dominated by an ancient willow tree, its gnarled branches stretching toward the sky like skeletal fingers. Clara felt an inexplicable pull toward it, as if it were alive with memories. "Look," Jamie said, pointing to a small stone altar partially hidden by the roots of the tree. It was adorned with remnants of offerings, dried flowers, bits of ribbon, and what appeared to be old, weathered trinkets. Clara stepped closer, her heart racing. This must be where she performed her rituals. Suddenly, the wind picked up, swirling around them, carrying whispers that were both familiar and foreign. The atmosphere crackled with energy, and Clara could have sworn she saw a shadow flit between the trees, a dark figure watching them from afar. "Do you think it's her?" Jamie asked, backing away instinctively. Before Clara could answer, she felt a surge of emotion wash over her. Sadness, longing, and an overwhelming sense of loss. It was as if the very essence of the willow which lingered in the air, pulling at her heartstrings. "Eleanor was searching for Lila," Clara breathed. "What if the witch knows where she is?" Just then, a low, melodic voice echoed through the clearing. "You seek that which was lost." Startled, Clara and Jamie turned to find a woman emerging from the shadows, draped in a cloak that shimmered like the night sky. Her hair flowed like tendrils of smoke, and her eyes glowed with an otherworldly light. The willow which stood before them, ethereal and haunting, her presence both alluring and terrifying. "What do you desire?" she asked, her gaze piercing through them. Clara's heart raced as she stepped forward, emboldened by the urgency of their quest. "We want to find Lila, Eleanor's daughter. She disappeared, and we believe you can help us." The witch's expression shifted, a flicker of recognition flashing in her eyes. "The child of the Thorn family. Her spirit is entwined with the fate of this house. But know this, to seek her is to invite the darkness that follows." "What do you mean?" Jamie asked, fear creeping into his voice. "The past is a tangled web, and to unravel it, you must be willing to face its shadows." The witch replied cryptically. "Are you prepared for the truth, no matter the cost?" Clara and Jamie exchanged a determined glance. They had come too far to turn back now. "Yes," Clara said firmly. "We'll do whatever it takes." With that, the willow which extended her hand, the air thick with the scent of earth and old magic. "Then follow me, and let the whispers guide you to what you seek." As they stepped forward, a chilling breeze swept through the clearing, and the world around them began to shimmer and fade, revealing the haunting path to the truth. A path woven with danger, heartbreak, and a reckoning long overdue. The shadows deepened, and Clara felt a shiver run down her spine as the woods whispered secrets of their own. Secrets that were far from finished. The moment Clara took the willow witch's hand, the world around her shifted. The trees blurred and twisted, merging into a vortex of swirling colors. It felt as if they were being pulled through time itself, the essence of the woods and the whispers of the past blending into a single heartbeat. When the world finally solidified around them, Clara and Jamie found themselves in a dimly lit room, the air thick with the scent of herbs and earth. It was a small, rustic cabin, adorned with strange symbols carved into the wooden beams. A fire crackled in the hearth, casting flickering shadows that danced along the walls. The willow which stood before them, her expression inscrutable. "This is a sacred place," she said, her voice low and melodic. "Here, the boundaries between the past and present blur. You must open your minds to see what lies beneath the surface." As she spoke, the room began to shift again, images swirling into focus like mist coalescing into form. Clara saw a vision of Eleanor, young and vibrant, cradling a giggling Lila in her arms. The warmth of their laughter echoed in the air, a stark contrast to the chill that lingered around them. Then the scene changed. Clara watched in horror as a figure loomed over Eleanor and Lila, a shadowy silhouette that seemed to absorb the light around it. The atmosphere thickened with dread as the figure reached out, whispering words Clara could not comprehend. She felt a surge of panic. This was the moment the darkness descended upon the Thorne family. "Why did Eleanor seek you?" Jamie asked, breaking the trance, his voice trembling. The willow which turned her gaze toward him, her eyes shimmering like stars. Eleanor was desperate. She believed she could protect her child from the darkness that sought to claim her. But every choice carries a consequence, and the pact she made tethered Lila to a fate entwined with shadows. What happened to her? Clara pressed, her heart racing. Where is Lila now? With a wave of her hand, the room shifted again, and Clara found herself standing in a vast expanse of mist, the ground beneath her swirling with gray tendrils that reached up like ghostly fingers. In the distance, she saw a figure. A little girl, no older than Lila, wandering aimlessly among the fog. "Lila?" Clara breathed, taking a step forward, but the ground beneath her shifted violently, pulling her back. "She is trapped," the willow witch said, her voice echoing around them. The darkness that consumed Eleanor's heart took root in Lila's spirit. She is bound to the memories of sorrow, lost in a labyrinth of grief. Jamie's expression hardened with determination. "We have to save her. We can't let her be trapped like this. Do you understand the price you must pay?" The willow witch asked, her gaze piercing. "To rescue her, you must confront the darkness within yourselves. You will face your own fears and regrets, for they too are part of this web." Clara felt a surge of uncertainty. What if we fail? What if we become part of that darkness? The witch's expression softened, just for a moment. "Then you must be prepared to sacrifice what you hold most dear to break the bond. Love and loss are two sides of the same coin." As the words settled in the air, Clara glanced at Jamie. Their bond forged through shared trials and triumphs. "We can't abandon her," she whispered fiercely. "Together," Jamie affirmed, determination igniting in his eyes. The willow which raised her arms, and the mist around them thickened, swirling into a vortex. "Then let the journey begin. Face what you have buried in the shadows. Only then will Lila be freed." With that, Clara and Jamie were engulfed in a whirlwind of memories, each flash like a knife twisting in their hearts. They were thrust into a scene from their past. Clara, a child, standing in the schoolyard, feeling the sting of isolation as classmates whispered behind her back. Jamie, struggling to navigate the loss of their father, his grief festering into anger directed at the world. As the memories unfurled, they were confronted by their own emotions: fear of abandonment, guilt over unspoken words, and the weight of expectations. The darkness pressed in around them, a living entity fueled by their regrets and fears. "No, we can't let this consume us," Clara shouted, her voice strong despite the heaviness surrounding her. "Remember why we're here," Jamie added, summoning the memory of Lila's laughter, the warmth of her embrace. "We have to fight." With a surge of determination, they grasped each other's hands, anchoring themselves in the bond that had carried them through so much. The darkness recoiled, shrinking back under the light of their connection. Clara felt warmth radiate from their clasped hands, illuminating the shadows around them. In that moment of clarity, the swirling mist began to shift again, revealing Lila's figure more clearly. She stood alone in the fog, her eyes wide with a mixture of hope and fear. "Help me," she whispered, her voice barely audible. "We're coming for you," Clara called out, her heart aching for the little girl lost in the depths of sorrow. As they advanced toward her, the ground trembled violently, the darkness seething and swirling around them. "You cannot have her," Clara shouted, the words reverberating through the fog. "Love conquers fear," Jamie echoed, emboldened. With each step, the darkness writhed, pushing back against their light. But Clara and Jamie pressed on, their resolve solidifying. They would not let fear dictate the outcome. They were here to break the chains binding Lila and to face the darkness that had plagued their family for generations. Just as they reached Lila, the darkness lunged forward, enveloping them in a suffocating embrace. Clara felt despair creeping in, but she fought against it. Lila, hold on to us. We're here. As Lila's frightened eyes met theirs, something shifted. A flicker of recognition sparked within her, and she took a tentative step forward. You came for me? She whispered, her voice tinged with disbelief. Always, Jamie replied, pulling her into their embrace. In that moment, the connection between them ignited a blinding light, dispelling the shadows. The darkness hissed and recoiled, unable to withstand the purity of their love. But just as they began to feel the pull of freedom, the shadows lashed out one final time, grasping at them with tendrils of despair. Clara realized they were still entwined in the past, and to break free, they would need to confront the roots of their own pain, those buried fears and regrets that had once held them captive. Together, Clara urged, holding tightly to Jamie and Lila. We can do this. As they formed a circle, the darkness swirled around them, and the air shimmered with possibility. It was a battle not just for Lila, but for their own liberation. In that moment, the essence of their shared love and strength became a beacon, illuminating the path forward. But as the shadows twisted and fought back, Clara felt a growing sense of dread. The darkness was not just external. It echoed the struggles they each faced within themselves. They had to confront those demons to truly break free. Focus on what you want to release, Jamie urged, his voice steady. The past can't hold us anymore. With determination, Clara closed her eyes, envisioning her fears, the loneliness, the guilt of her father's death, and the weight of expectations. She felt the chains begin to shatter as she released them, the light within them growing brighter. Lila, Clara cried, her heart aching for the girl who had borne the brunt of Eleanor's choices. You deserve to be free. And as they stood united, the light grew until it burst forth, illuminating the darkness around them, unraveling the binds that had held Lila captive. With one final surge of strength, they embraced the pain, transforming it into light. As the darkness receded, Clara, Jamie, and Lila found themselves back in the clearing beneath the ancient willow, the air lighter and clearer. The willow which stood before them, a look of approval in her eyes. You have faced the shadows and emerged, she declared. Lila is free, and so are you. But as Clara turned to Lila, a flicker of uncertainty crossed her face. What happens now? She asked softly, glancing around the clearing. The air shimmered, and the witch's expression softened. You must choose how to move forward. The past can linger, but it does not have to define you. What you have achieved here is a testament to the strength of your bond. With a deep breath, Clara knelt beside Lila. You're safe now. We'll take care of each other. Lila's smile returned, a light breaking through the shadows of her past. I want to go home. As the trio stood together, a sense of warmth enveloped them, the whispers of the woods transforming from foreboding to comforting. But Clara knew that their journey was not yet over. They still had to confront the remnants of the darkness and ensure that it never returned. Will you help us? Clara asked the willow witch, determination shining in her eyes. We want to heal this place, to ensure that no one else suffers as we have. The witch nodded, a knowing smile gracing her lips. The path to healing is long and winding, but you are not alone. Together, you can mend the ties that bind the past to the present. As the sun dipped below the horizon, casting golden rays through the branches of the willow, Clara felt a renewed sense of purpose. The shadows might still linger, but they had found a light to guide them through. And with that light, they would forge a new path, one filled with hope, healing, and the promise of love that transcended even the darkest of histories. Don't forget to subscribe and like if you liked this story.